Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Catherine Mattice here with Civility Partners. Civility Partners is focused on building positive workplace cultures, and we specialize in ugly, toxic cultures as well and turning those around. And welcome to Catherine's Corner this morning. I have Gabriella Parente Newbert. I hope I said that right.
Yep. It's a mouthful.
Is a senior HR executive. She is a fellow LinkedIn Learning course author. She has 5 courses related to HR on payroll and hiring and some great courses. So check her out. And we're just going to have a conversation today about HR and the state of HR and putting some humanity back in HR. So hi, Gabriella. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
And you're also doing a lot of work with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we're definitely going to talk about that.
Yes, that's a huge passion of mine for sure, because, we have such a great platform now to finally start talking about it more so. So I love talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging.
Yes, and belonging, dibs. Yes, so we will. So lots of employers facing lots of big challenges. Talk to me about some of what you're seeing in your world.
Yeah, I think that everyone can probably relate to this and agree with it. It's a tough time for everybody. We're still not out of the woods yet. Employers are experiencing downsizing, turnover. We're having this, mass exodus of employees leaving companies. And then we're having, to fight for that great talent as well. Not only that, what I think is more important to what's going on is that people are really struggling. People are hurting. Our staff, they're going through a lot. They may have been downsized. They may have been laid off. They may have had to take on 3 different jobs. Or maybe they're just getting back into it. Maybe they were laid off for a little bit. So they're going through a lot. And so I think, the topic today is just so important to, keep the forefront of like what our staff needs, what do our employees need, what do they need from us, what can we do as leaders and executives to help them, because they're struggling. We're seeing it everywhere. It's all around the world. It's not just the United States, but everywhere.
Yeah. How do you reconcile if you're working with a leader who maybe that's not, it's like leaders are obviously have to focus on the bottom line because the organization can't survive if the bottom line is in the red. How do you balance that with humanity and really doing things or putting money towards ththings that are going to help your employees?
Right. That's always the challenge, right? That's the challenge of HR. It always has been. But there's things that we can do too that don't even cost money. Thinking outside the box, like we can structure work weeks and we can structure time off and we can, bring some kindness into the workplace. Those things don't cost a penny, right? Probably your health insurance carrier has some sort of wellness program, has some sort of EAP attached to it, or something like that, some sort of service. If not, the community that you're in probably has resources. If you have nothing else available, that's probably completely free and employees don't even know about it. And, those are things that don't even cost money that we can do to just help, the stress, the anxiety, what's going to happen next. I've had COVID, I've lost family members, those sort of things are, really on people's minds right now. And they have been. So the stress is accumulated, right? Yeah. So we're at a little bit of a breaking point where you're seeing, a lot of people sort of just really hit hard by the pandemic, right? And so, with leaders, I think it's always important, to remember we need to show our value and our worth, right? So, let's do some surveys. Let's talk to people. Let's do town halls. Let's get in there and understand what our people want. And then let's do something about it and let's measure it. So we can bring our leaders those measurable results of what we think, how we can impact. Is it turnover? Right? We're seeing so many people leave right now. What can we do to stop this? And it might be as simple as, you can have Fridays off. If you want to work a 4-day work week and you can get everything done in 4 days, have that next day off so you can decompress, so you can spend time with your children. Maybe they're homeschooled. We don't know, you don't know people's situations right now.
Yeah, yeah. This actually is very timely for my team today. We're doing a paint team exercise over Zoom this afternoon, starting at 1. So I guess we're taking a half day today to do a little team building. Or you could
Perfect.
go for a walk with the team members who live near you, or everybody could get on their phone and kind of Zoom while you walk and just kind of get outside.
Oh,
And
that's a great idea.
yeah,
Go Zoom while you walk. Be in nature for a minute. I mean, we're in Colorado, so we have, beautiful, beautiful options here. Depending on where you're at, you may not have that, it might be cold, but, something, if you're still Zooming, you're not back to the office, sending $5 gift cards to people and say, hey, go get yourself coffee,
mhm.
donut, whatever it is, that we're going to do that month. And then we're going to like at least have something, some kind of common purpose, right? Like to
Yeah,
talk and share about. And, the company's sponsored it. We're not talking about a lot of money here, but
yeah,
something different. And I also like having the ability to we're not going to talk about work. Like, let's take a half an hour to really get to know one another and have some connection and community when we're so lacking that right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's for sure. What,
Mhm.
so, part of this too is the stress around vaccinations. And I know I have some clients where a couple people can't be vaccinated because of
Mhm.
health
Yeah.
reasons and things. So then they feel left out, and so then you're sort of excluding them because this one particular employer I'm thinking of is, requiring vaccinations. And
Mhm.
so there's this element of creating stress around those types of things. I mean, what suggestions do you have for employers with that issue where
Mhm.
vaccinations are a sticky subject?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, going back to, my background is actually psychology. I was very close to becoming a therapist.
Oh,
Like, let's
HR is pretty much being a
it's
therapist. So
it's
you're
pretty similar. Like, let's support them outside of the workplace. There are so many of those examples. Like you said, vaccination is causing stress. Well, if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, if you wear a mask at work or you don't wear a mask or too many Zooms, it's all stress, right?
Mhm,
And so, what can we give them? Is it an extra break? Is it a day off? Is it a mental health day? Now, don't tell me about what's happening in your mental health day, but like just a day. You don't even have to tell us, but just take an extra couple days.
mhm,
Get the support, grab those resources. If you're not using an EAP, they're not that expensive. You can get one for your organization. There's probably something through the health insurance carrier right now. Utilize those benefits. If you're offering health benefits, most of the time there's mental health coverage somewhere in that plan. Show
right.
them what it is. Give that to them. Give them all those resources. And it doesn't have to be counseling. It could be life coaching. It could be a yoga class. It could be, I know there's all these new apps. Like I use Insight Timer.
Okay.
It has thousands of different meditations. Find out what your employees want. Survey is easy. You know, survey monkey, real easy. Like, what do you want? What do you need? How can I support you? Asking
Yeah.
them what they need instead of just deciding. I think
Yeah.
like this, let's just
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've been talking a lot about doing surveys as well. Let's figure out how people feel and what they need and how you can improve. I think,
Mhm.
well, I know often employers hesitate on surveys because then they know they have to respond and they wonder how much money is that going to cost.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's about building a relationship. I think just to put my advice on surveys, if you're concerned that there's going to be so much wrong that it's going to be super expensive, then you definitely need to do a survey and
Right.
get to fixing it. But if you're, just worried about what kinds of things are going to be asking for, it's the time to build a relationship with your workforce and just say, okay, here we got a nice list of things people want. We can't do all of it.
Mhm.
Internet pooped out. There we go. We can't do all of it, but we're going to do
Yeah.
some of it. And over time, maybe we can work towards things. Or you could say, hey, if we meet certain quotas, then we can get to doing some of these other things you're asking for. So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be creating a divide. Surveys are really a great chance to build trust with your workforce and
Exactly.
communicate. Yeah.
Exactly. And I can't underestimate the power of kindness and giving people the benefit of the doubt. Having, some assuming positive intent.
Hmm.
If you've hired the right people, you should be able to trust them.
Mhm.
And if they say, they have COVID or their family has COVID or if they've been exposed to COVID, let's give them the time that they need to heal and to not make it any more stressful on them because they're having to do so many other things. And let's give them the benefit of the doubt and let's just talk to them. Let's just have a human to human conversation of, hey, what's up? I
Yeah.
noticed this. This is what's going on. I respect you enough that I'm coming to you. This isn't a write-up. This isn't anything, but let's just have a conversation. What's going on in your world? And,
Yeah.
is there anything we can do?
Yeah.
Is it one of those free options that I talked about? Is it about creating flexible work weeks?
Mhm.
Flexible time off, things like that really don't cost anything. It's just thinking outside the box and, how we can still be efficient, but give our employees what they need right now.
Yeah. And flexible work definitely ties into inclusivity and equity, right? For example, I signed up, I don't know what I was thinking, for a webinar this morning at 7, which I did not attend because I had my kids this morning. Just was thinking, gosh, if this was a work required thing, I wouldn't have been able to go. And I'm so thankful that I'm a CEO and run my company so I can come and go as needed. And I think COVID really highlighted that women need that flexible work because of the role they're forced into at home with the second shift. I'm just curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, what is COVID has taught us so many things, right? We can actually trust our workers. Oh my gosh, like this is crazy. We can let them decide how they need to work. If they can't make it at 7, okay, well, when can you make it? If you would rather work an extra hour or 2 at night when the kids go to bed, then do that. Everyone has their own situation. And we're not talking about just men or just women. We're also talking about men or people that identify as men or women as well. They are raising children too. And we have to be cognizant of people who are on hourly schedules where they have to be somewhere. That's a different challenge that we really need to address as well. And how can we help them? There's ways to do it. It's not impossible by any means. Everyone has their own unique situation, whether it is raising children or maybe they're taking care of their elderly parents. There's challenges, right? Maybe they're visiting their mom in the hospital who has been hospitalized due to COVID or having to take care of their house, letting them kind of decide how they need to work and having those conversations can be really helpful.
I agree. I feel like sometimes in the middle of the day, I'll go and run an errand real quick. I have to mail something that's important, and if I'm an employee who doesn't feel that I'm free to do something like that, that creates some presenteeism, right? Because I'm stressed about leaving in time to get to the post office or whatever for this little errand that's short, but it's eating into my mind power. I just think there's a lot of these little things in our personal lives that we're thinking about. And if we can give employees the opportunity to address some of those things, they'll be more loyal if they don't feel like they're supposed to feel guilty because they went and did some sort of personal errand or took someone to the doctor or what have you.
Well, right, because we're all humans, right? It doesn't matter what title we have. We're all human beings. We all have things going on in our lives, and they're all just different. There's no way to even put it in a box. There's no box, right?
Yes.
Everyone has those challenges, but yeah, it's like respecting our team, respecting the people that we hired, that we chose to come into this family, so to speak, right?
Yeah, if you chose them, trust them. I think that's going to be the new motto. Look at us creating.
If you chose them, trust them. Yes.
So we've kind of touched on this a bit, but what do you think the future of work looks like? I mean, do you think 2 years from now things will kind of be back to the way they were pre-COVID? Do you think just things are going to continue to super revamp? I mean, where do you see us headed?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I mean, everyone has their own opinions on this, right? I don't think it's ever going to be the way it was before. I really don't. I think that when we're talking about our staff and our companies, people have gotten a little bit of a taste of what it's like to have some freedom, to be able to be trusted to work from home, to be able to take care of their families just a little bit more. And I think people, they're going to stick to that. A lot of people don't want to go back to the office, or they want a hybrid approach. Hybrid is what I'm hearing everywhere. Hybrid. People really, really like that. I personally like it. You get connection, but then you also have time to just, head down and get your work done too, alone. So I think that every company is going to be completely different, which there's no standard, right? And so we really have to look at, cost, is it more effective to keep these people working from home than having this really expensive, office building that, maybe they never even really liked, but they felt like they had to go there. There was no option, right?
Yeah.
And, that's a big question. Do we want to work in a cubicle, or do we want to work at our house and our dog's sitting here? And,
I'm a fan of hybrid too. I do feel like that's going to be the new thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And traffic, whenever I'm in it, I'm just like, I can't stand it. I already couldn't stand it before COVID, but now I'm even more averse to it, having not been in it for so long.
Right.
So I'll be planning my meetings and things around non-traffic times.
And that's right.
Yeah, that eats into a lot of things too. Okay, so I'm with you. I think hybrid will be the future. What about related to DIBS, equity and inclusion and behavior? How, obviously we've had Black Lives Matter, we had Me Too. COVID's really showing us that things like flexible work are going to need to be part of the future. If you're going to claim inclusivity is a core value, you're going to have flexible work. How else do you see the future of work as it relates to diversity?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful time. Honestly, the doors are open. People are having the conversations. I've had more companies come to me now in the past year and a half about diversity, equity, and inclusion than I've ever seen in 15 years of working in the field, right? So people are asking for it. They're hungry for it. They don't know how to do it necessarily, but they're asking. So, that's the starting point of this all. We just have such an opportunity right now to start implementing these processes and procedures that probably should have always been there, honestly.
Yes.
When I started my career, I worked for a federal contractor. And so we did affirmative action plans. But if it wasn't for that, a lot of companies just don't think about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And now it's in the forefront of everyone's mind. So implementing these employee resource groups, seeing such traction with that, let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. Let's talk about the uncomfortable. And I'm all about that. Let's just get it out there.
Yeah.
We can't move forward if we don't talk about it. And some of it is uncomfortable. Some business owners or CEOs are against that, but you can't move forward unless you know the real issues here. What's happening. Let's train our folks. Let's talk about it. Let's have groups where we can get together and discuss some of the challenges of, being a mom or dad who's raising children, who, all the different groups, right? It's such an open forum now to create a community as well.
Yeah. And I think it speaks to, I know it does. It speaks to mental health and wellness and what we were talking about earlier, because I was already saying this before COVID, but even more so now, that society has not allowed us to be vulnerable at work. You're not supposed to cry or you look weak. Right. And, all of these things, you're supposed to just be focused and present. And if you have problems, we're going to try to figure out how to get rid of you. It's like we want this version of people at work, and that's not real. And so I think COVID really allowed people to let their guard down a little bit and open up about how they were feeling. And I've been encouraging everyone to take advantage of that. Like, let's make that normal to talk about how we're feeling. And then that creates the psychological safety where people can then talk about the fact that they're the first generation college student in their family or something, that these uncomfortable kinds of topics, or the trials and tribulations of being a single parent, or, whatever it is, what it feels like to be discriminated against. These are conversations that need to be had. And it all ties back to psychological safety. And your employees can't be top performers unless they feel safe psychologically. Right?
That's right. That's absolutely right, Catherine. And I'm so glad you brought that up, and you mentioned earlier that you have children, and, you brought up a really good point about being vulnerable at work. We've always had to have, men and women have always had to have this like really tough exterior when you come to work. Like, we can't really even be ourselves or be human. Right. And COVID just showed us, wow, there's a lot more to us. We are, complex individuals. We're not just workers. Quick story. I remember when COVID first started, I had I don't even think he was one yet. Yeah, my baby was not even 1 yet. And I had an 11-year-old who was homeschooled, and I was home alone because there was no daycares, there was no schools open, and I'm working and working a lot of hours because COVID's a mess, right?
Yes.
Lots of companies need help. And for years, Catherine, if my daughter knew I was on a work call, like she knew, don't make a sound,
Mhm.
don't I can't even hear you. Like it was such a thing,
Mhm.
to where I wouldn't let someone know that I had kids because I thought that I was going to be seen as less than
Mhm.
because I had a kid that I had to pick up or that she was homesick from school and then people wouldn't respect me.
Mhm.
And that was my own fear. But when this happened during COVID and there was no babysitters, there was no school, there was nothing. I sat and I cried because I thought everyone's going to think I'm so unprofessional now.
Mhm.
I won't be respected anymore. It's over. Like it's over.
Yeah, my
And,
career is over. Yeah.
like the kids are here. They're crying, they're yelling. And then slowly everyone was doing it,
Mhm.
men, women, everybody. And it was like, wow, you're human. You have a child too. You have a dog. You have a cat. You have someone else here that needs you.
Yeah, my dog was just barking in the background
Yep.
in the middle of my professional LinkedIn live show.
Right?
Yeah.
We all have them, but we hit them. We hit them. And, I would just remember it so profoundly. I'm sitting in my closet trying to work because I was trying to minimize the sound of my children. And I said, you know what? They're here.
Yeah.
They're here. And I can still do my job.
Oh, I'm getting teary-eyed. That's a great example of how this has impacted us and how we had to get vulnerable. And yeah, just, okay, I have kids and here they are. And it is weird that we did have this line that was not to be crossed. If you were at home, the kids
Yep.
could not be there or you were so embarrassed. And I was right there with you with that. So it's good. It's good that COVID has allowed us to bring the humanity back
That's
to
right.
the workplace.
There's some positives.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I
Yes.
really appreciate it. And we'll make sure your LinkedIn profile is posted there in the comments so people can get a hold of you as they're
That would be
scrolling
great.
through.
I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, send her some questions. She's
Yes.
got a lot of knowledge. She's a senior HR exec, so she's got a lot of information, as you heard. So thank you again, Gabriella.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you, Kat.